My daughter asked me the other day, Mom, how did God make water? And I'm like, how did God make water? I don't know. Two hydrogen and an oxygen. How in the world did the Creator manifest concepts and bring them into the world? Today, I want to look at some teachings. One just briefly, by Callistos Ware from the Orthodox Way, and an excellent book. And then one of my favorite books, Hymns on Paradise by Saint Ephrem the Syrian. And I specifically want to look at the idea of how early Christian theology recognizes and understands how the manifestation of Christ and how creation came into being. So I'm going to start with a quote from Callistos Ware, and I just think it's so beautiful. It says, "Wherever we look, we see not only confusion, but beauty. In snowflake, leaf, or insect, we discover structured patterns of a delicacy and balance that nothing manufactured by human skill can equal." He says, out of an initial chaos, there have emerged patterns of an ever increasing intricacy and meaning, and among all these patterns, the most intricate and meaningful is man himself. I love that. And I was thinking about, let's look at just one pattern. This is one of my favorite flowers. I grow these here, and we grow these in my house, and they grow so well, and they are orchids. I'm going to try to get this up in the camera. The orchids have been around, so they say, since when dinosaurs walked on the earth. They have, try to slow that down. A lot of orchids have what they call bilateral symmetry. They're very smart. They have a lip where their pollinators can land. They are such a fascinating flower. And you can see all of the details. And they've become, supposedly, there's 28,000 species of orchids. And I'm so grateful. There's so many different colors. And so I just wanted to look at that. The concept of nature as a gift and the beauty that it has brought us, not just the beauty, but the wisdom, the understanding is so powerful. So next, I want to look at some writings from Hymns on Paradise. And what I love about this book is he's describing paradise. And it's so beautiful and so poetic. He's just a beautiful author, and the way that he writes, I highly recommend that you look him up and learn a little bit more about him. He's really fascinating. But listen to this. Listen how he describes paradise. He says, "Should you wish to climb up a tree with its lower branches, it will provide steps before your feet, eager to make you recline in its bosom above. On the couch of its upper branches, so arranged is the surface of these branches, bent low and cupped, while yet dense with flowers, that they serve as a protective womb for whoever rests there." And he goes on and talks about how beautiful paradise is, and how he goes on. Let me read you one more stanza. "Who has ever beheld such a banquet in the very bosom of a tree, with fruit of every savor, ranged for the hand to pluck? Each type of fruit in due sequence approaches each, awaiting its turn." It approaches us, each awaiting its turn to be plucked. Each awaiting its turn, fruit to eat, and fruit to quench the thirst. To rinse the hands there is dew, and leaves to dry them with after. A treasure store which lacks nothing, whose Lord is rich in all things. The beauty of creation. One of our purposes is to renew the garden. The earth is this beautiful garden, and we are here to renew it, to renew paradise, to restore paradise. And I want to go into a deeper understanding of early Christian theology regarding creation. Now, this is really fascinating. I think it's super fascinating. It's something that I've been studying and thinking about. And it comes from John 1. Let's look at John 1. It says, "In the beginning was the Word." And that word right there is really important because in the Greek, it's logos. Logos. So you could read it, "In the beginning was the Logos." Now, what is the Logos? Logos is the word where we get logic, reason, wisdom, but even more than that. It's almost like a mystery. It's interesting because the concept of logos, different philosophers have like chased this concept and trying to understand it, from Heraclitus to Socrates to Plato to Aristotle. And once we get to St. John, he says, "In the beginning was the Logos, and the Logos was with God, and the Logos was God." The word was God. Logos, he was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him, nothing was made that was made. And that's John 1, 1 through 3 in my current favorite Bible, the Orthodox Study Bible. And let me read this to you in Spanish in case you're a Spanish speaker, because it's so beautiful. It says, "En el principio era el verbo," the word, "y el verbo era con Dios," God. "Y el verbo era Dios," was God. "Este era en el principio con Dios," in the beginning. "Todas las cosas por él fueron hechas, y sin él nada de lo que es hecho fue hecho." Then John goes on to say, "And the word became flesh and dwelt among us. Y aquel verbo fue hecho carne y habitó entre nosotros." The word, logos. It's also where logos is also kind of like the root behind words of things like psychology, anything with ology, psychology, sociology, hydrology, geology. It's the logic, it's the understanding, it's the wisdom in all of these things. We understand that this orchid has its own wisdom. It knows how to grow. It knows how to put out its lip. It knows how to attract pollinators. A bird has its own logic. It knows how to build a nest. We have this built-in logic. And so through this reason, logic, logos, all things were created. Through Christ, the immaterial became material, became matter. So Jesus is the physical incarnate, encarne, in the flesh, in the body, logos. Okay, now let's go a little bit deeper. So creation is a mystery. How exactly all that works, I don't know. Maybe we've reached the limit of our logic on that, or maybe God will begin to unlock and reveal deeper understandings of this. But when we think of God, there's this concept of will, operation, and power that are one in the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So let me explain how that works. So this is interesting. The Father is the creator of all things. It's the will, the concept, the principle, the concept of a bird before it became a bird, the concept of a human being before we came into existence, the concept of a flower, an orchid, before it came into existence. Not just a flower, but a very specific flower with certain types of leaves and certain types of colors and certain types of symmetry, and all of this logic and smart and natural wisdom that is completely infused in a flower. Somehow that is what we are talking about here. But it goes on to say, this is sort of interesting. So the Father is the creator of all things. The Son is the one through whom all things were made. And the Holy Spirit is the one in whom are all things. Everything that he, God the creator, had made was very good, he says in Genesis 1:31. Because first he conceived, and his conception was a work carried out by his word, by the Logos, through Christ, and perfected by his Spirit. So the Son brings God's desire into existence, and the Holy Spirit perfects it in goodness and beauty. So let me give you an example of that. The immaterial concept, and I kind of mentioned this, or the thought of a bird becomes manifested as a physical bird, and the breath of the Holy Spirit is the life in all living things. So we are created in the image and likeness of God with a will, operation or action, and power. And we are creative beings. So what we think in our minds is so powerful because God has given us the ability to take an idea and a concept and manifest it. We have an idea of a house we want to build, and we're able to bring that into existence, into the material world. And then we give power to it. We have this idea, we begin to make it, and we give power. We create something out of our mind. So in this way, we are created like God. We have these three operations within us. We are creative beings. We are created beings, and we're still being created. Our bodies are, through the Holy Spirit, are actively being created, renewed, restored, transformed, and we are creative beings. And so that is one way in which we as nature are activated through God, in God, with God, along with nature, and how it is manifested, just like God was manifested in the flesh through Christ, through Christ. That is God that this is that was able to, through him, all things were created. Powerful, powerful. That's just a little snippet of this idea of how creation enjoys beauty and logic and wisdom and creation and came from the mind of our Creator, and how Jesus is a part of this complete operation. John says, through him all things were made. Amen.